So I wanted to welcome all of you here and tell you that I'm definitely excited to be here with you today. A little nervous. This is my very first time presenting for anything, anywhere. First time last year at IT camp, so I kind of saw how everybody presented, but this is my first time presenting. So thank you all for being here. Hopefully you'll come away with at least one thing. That's what I always say about presentations. Coming away with one thing makes it worth it. But hopefully you'll come away with more today. So just a little bit about my Wakalet journey, which actually started with Twitter, funny enough, but I am one of those people who loves Pinterest, and I love bookmarking things on Twitter. So I bookmarked, like, I don't even know what, hundreds of bookmarks, but I never actually went back in and looked at them. And I'm sure they're still there, and there's probably tons of them, but I didn't have a way to easily look at them. And then last year at IT camp, I don't know if any of you went to Paul Butler's session yesterday where he was sharing 6 tools, I think, but last year it was 20 tools for 2020. And he, not only in there did he mention Wakelet, but at the unconference later that evening, I went up and approached him, and he was talking about, I don't even know how many tools all at once, but we talked about Wakelet at that point. And I immediately signed up for an account and started using it to save my tweets from that weekend or that week. So initially I used it just for bookmarking tweets, which I know some of you said that that's what you've mainly used it for. And once school started in September, I then found, actually it was October, I found someone on Wakelet who had newsletters that you could use and copy. They were templates. Her name is Erin Flanagan, if you are on Wakelet and you want to search for her newsletters. But I've also created ones for my account, which are also copyable. So you could also search for me and search for those. And her newsletters were just really well laid out. And I ended up copying all of them for the year and started to use them for newsletters to send home, communicate with families. And then during at-home learning, once we got over the whole hump of, oh my gosh, we're teaching from home, I started to use it to collaborate with students and to create activity guidelines. And I'm not necessarily going to show those unless you ask during the Q&A, and then I can show a few of those, but I don't have that on there necessarily for today. So why use Wakelet? It's free. That's the biggest thing. It is absolutely free. They have space, plenty of space, so it's not like you're going to run out of space. You can make as many collections as you want. I've never been told that I'm running out of space or I have to stop making collections at all. So in that sense, it's amazing. Forget what else I was just going to say. Forget what I was going to say, but I'll come back to it if I remember. Secondly, you can use it for personal use. So bookmarking your tweets would be a personal use that you use it for. You might also have that as professional use and you're bookmarking tweets for education purposes. Personal use, you could use it for photo albums, recipe collections, sports information, business card holders, shopping wish lists. And some of these I am going to go through and show you. You could also use it for making an exercise regimen if you wanted to, or just kind of saving videos in a collection of ones that you like to do. And then for professional use, save content from various online media. So it's not just Twitter that you can save it from. I don't know if anyone has kind of explored other media to save into a Wakelet, but you can definitely do it. And I'll show you what other platforms you can save into Wakelet. Creating lesson plans, curating information, and collaborating with students and collaborating with colleagues, which I tried to do over the at-home learning. I just think it was a little much for some people to try and take everything on all at once. So I think that would come for sure. So the Twitter, using Twitter to bookmark things into Wakelet, if you haven't already downloaded the browser extension, it allows you to save content easily right from Twitter into a Wakelet collection. And it literally ends up putting that little W that is right there at the bottom of your tweets. So instead of having to click the download button or upload button and then choose Wakelet, if you just click the Wakelet, it takes you to all your collections, and then you just save it into whichever collection you want to save it into. It's just a little easy way to go from Twitter to Wakelet. And these are some other platforms that you can save into Wakelets as well. So I'm sure you see ones there that you definitely recognize. YouTube would be another one that a lot of people use, and Instagram, Google Maps, Google Drive, it definitely works well with. Spotify, I've seen Spotify playlists be put into Wakelets. So I'm just gonna go over a little bit about what I call dipping your toes in and start curating. So when I applied to be an ambassador over the last few months, I had to create a whole Wakelet as an application. I had to kind of go through my journey, and I talked about the waves. So everything that I kind of connect to is waves and plunging in, dipping your toes in. As Laura likes to say, going 2 feet first. It's how I kind of related everything to Wakelet. So dipping your toes in to start curating and organizing your bookmarks into amazing collections. And this is a point where I'm gonna flip. Okay, let's flip tabs and hopefully it works. So this is a collection that I created that I only saved things from Twitter. I didn't do anything else with it. So it allows you to see all of your tweets that you save in one Wakelet. And while we're in here, I also wanted to show you that you can do it in different formats. So it doesn't have to always be one right under the other. So if you want to change your layout, what it is in when it's just one under the other is media view. Compact view takes that media view and it just kind of squishes it a little bit, makes it a little less space, take up less space. So that's compact view. Grid view makes it one right next to the other. So it's two beside each other, and then it just lines them up. And media view does kind of what, or sorry, mood board does kind of what grid view does, but it makes it kind of back and forth, kind of like scrapbooking, if anyone scrapbooks out there. So if you have a lot in the collection, it will kind of tier the different tweets that you've saved in there. This one doesn't have a whole lot, but I will show you another one that has more in it. Oh, sorry. Oh, no, not going there yet. Sorry. I have all my notes sitting in front of me as well. So it partners really well with different platforms that I know a lot of teachers are using too. The big one that it partners well with is Google Classroom. It is really easy to upload a Wakelet into Google Classroom. It goes directly from Wakelet actually to Google Classroom. You can also partner with Adobe or App Smash with Adobe, App Smash with Buncee, Flipgrid, Seesaw, Twitter, and YouTube. And there's other ones too. Those were just the main ones. I don't know if anyone's using Microsoft Teams, but it also just partnered over the summer actually with Microsoft Teams. So it works well with that as well. Oh, you're welcome, Anne. Sorry, I'm looking at the chat too. I have like 3 different things I'm looking at here. And then I also wanted to show you that you can incorporate Buncee, which I use a lot. I know Anne is on our webinar here, our session here, and she's a Buncee ambassador. So she's recognizing the Buncees probably because it says it's down the corner. But when you put a Buncee into Wakelet, the Buncees that I showed you that are just images, they don't have the animations. So I wanted to show you, wanted to show you this part to show you that when you put a Buncee in Wakelet, the animations stay there. So if you just flip through your Buncee, the animations are there in the Buncee. So it's one of those partners that's really kind of cool to do with Wakelet and still get your animations. So sorry. So going back there. So another thing that I wanted to show you too, just for pairing with other media, are a couple collections. So these would be the personal ones. This one's a photo album that I made of our family trip to Cape Split, a day trip. You can put in text. So I just recorded the different things about our day. And then I uploaded our photos from the day. So it's creating a photo album. And you can put captions at the bottom of the photos as well. But then you can also add text underneath. I just don't have that in here. But you can add both if you want. So all the photos are there of our journey as we went through Cape Split. And then another one would be sports. So I mentioned sports for the personal use too. So this is one of the managers of Wakelet who created this all about Daniel James. So he has images in here. He has videos in here, tweets, another video, another tweet, another video. So I've seen like amazing collections on different sports people, different sports. I know there's lots of them out there about golf and tennis. So there's different ways that people have been using it for sure. And then this is one that my family created for gifts and gifts, not GIF, GIFTS. So I wanted to show you this one just to kind of point out that when you put in into Wakelet something from Amazon, if it's a wish list, then you can click on, you can create your size and your color that you want. And when you click on that item, it goes right to the exact item that you click that you want. So it goes right to the color and the size that you're interested in without having someone to guess. So you can share out this wish list and then people could check it off or delete it actually. If you wanted them to collaborate with it, they could delete it. And then they wouldn't, somebody wouldn't know that they got it, but you would have that wish list of what people want. So people can collaborate in them too very easily, which I will go through toward the end. So sharing your collections, once you're in a collection, you can share it out directly in all of these ways. So there's your classroom one to share it to Google Classroom immediately, Microsoft Teams and Twitter. If you ever do collections of tweets in Wakelet, this one right here is a Twitter shout out. So it will actually tag all of the people who are in your Wakelet so that you don't have to try and tag them yourself. So that's how you would tweet out a collection that you have in Wakelet and have everyone know that they're in it. Remind and Reddit and Facebook. And this one is your QR code if you want to have a QR code displayed. So those are, or you can even copy the link. So this is what I did to share this with IT Camp for when we're done. And I put it into a slide so that you can just, you'll have access to this whole Wakelet. I even have written down to show you how to share it. So here's your share button there, and that's all you need to do. You can also export your whole Wakelet as a PDF if you want. It's just nothing remains movable, nothing remains clickable. It's just a PDF, I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure about hyperlinks. They might stay, but I don't think they do. And then you can embed your Wakelet into a website as well. So Immersive Reader, I don't know how many of you are well acquainted with Immersive Reader, but it's one of the things I absolutely love about Wakelet. It's also in some other platforms too. I know it's in Buncee. I believe it's in Flipgrid. But it's phenomenal for students who are English as a second language. You're visually impaired who might need large print, or dyslexic. There's ways that you can put colors behind the letters as well, or behind the words, and you can also have it read to you. So I'm going to show you a little bit about the Immersive Reader. Just trying to find one that has lots of text in it for you. Actually, we can do it with this. So the Immersive Reader icon is right over here. So when anything is in Wakelet, you'll have this little icon. And if you click on it, all of your text with nothing in the background comes up. So it's very clean and it's easy to view. And then there are 3 buttons up here that you can use to change different things. So if you want to change your text size and make it bigger, you can do it there. That's as big as it goes. Make it back to small, so it also will go smaller. You can change the font if you want. You can change the coloring behind your words. There's even more colors down there. Under this button here, if you are doing a lesson and you want to focus in on a part of speech that you're teaching the students, if you turn on, I really should turn that color back off. Sorry, turn it back to white first. If you want to focus on nouns, then you could just click on the nouns and highlight them in a color that you want. It's telling me that all of those are nouns. That's a lot of nouns. If you want to focus on verbs, then you would just turn on the verbs and you could focus on your verbs. So it's showing the verb there in red. So you've got adjectives and adverbs as well, and you can turn on all of them if you want and just assign different colors for all of them. And then, oh, sorry, the syllables are there too. So if you're talking about syllables in class, you could have a story, you could have an article, you could have anything that you really want to focus on to get the students to really look at syllables and how the words are divided up. So that's also a feature there. And then this third one here is a picture dictionary, which is really neat. If I can remember how to do that right. You just click on the word and the photo will come up. So if you have students that are new to English as a language, then this might help them for sure there's no space in there. This would help them to kind of look at what pictures are for the words so that maybe they can understand the words a bit better. And then here are your translations for languages. And I'm pretty sure the last time I counted, there were 52, either 52 or 62 different languages listed in here that a student can translate this into. So if we have, I know in our school we have a few Arabic students who speak Arabic. So if we want to do that, then we could translate the entire document and it will translate it in Arabic for them. So you can always push out yours in whatever language you have it in, English, probably, but then they can change it themselves so that they can read it in their own language if they're still learning English. Peter, I don't know if there are any questions. My chat window seemed to have closed on my iPad, but if there are.
Some cools and some wows, but no, right now there are no questions.
Okay.
I do have a quick question if you don't mind.
Not at all.
Can you use this on several different devices? Like, is it an account? Like, for example, I can use my Facebook on my phone and on my home computer and on my iPad.
Yes.
Okay.
They've always had the capability of using it on an iPad. And then just in the last month, they also made it so, well, you can use it on any device. They just made it in the last month so that you can collaborate on mobile devices as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And I'm getting to collaboration too, so I'll go over that there.
There is a quick question. Parents don't need accounts to see the collections. They can just
Okay. Not at all. So with the share link, because that's how I would send out my newsletters. I would just put them in an email with the link, and parents just click on the link and it brings it right up for them, and they don't have to log in. They don't need to know a code. I've also put it you can text them. I've texted them before and they just come right through on the phone. And I've also sent them through on Remind, and you can just get them right through on Remind as well. So it works really well that way. Students don't need accounts either. They actually can't, and it'll stop them if they're under 13 from having an account. They have to answer like a slew of questions in order to create accounts. So to me, I'm like, if you're going to sit there and answer that many questions, you're also, they ask you your age too. So it's not easy to make an account. So they shouldn't be if they're in elementary school making one. The session really, I had put that it was P to 12 because in the junior high and especially high school level, students can definitely create their own accounts and start collaborating more so and creating their own things. And they also have a student ambassador program, which is amazing as well. So that was Immersive Reader in a nutshell. If anyone doesn't have any questions about Immersive Reader, I'll keep going. Okay.
You're good.
Okay, so take it to the next level with collaboration. This is kind of where I ended up after 9 months, 10 months of using Wakelet, was thinking about how I could get the students involved in it too. And where you can send them the link and they just click, they don't have to log in with any kind of credentials whatsoever. And they actually can log in anonymously with a fake name as well, which it generates for them when they log in or when they click on the link. Sorry. I'm going to show you how it's easiest to do with the students too. So I think I have a little video for you next. Okay. Yeah. So you'll also notice the fun thing about having your YouTube videos in here is that the ads were not there. The ads at the beginning, and there's no ads around your video either. I know the ones pop up afterwards, but they're all related to what we just watched. So they're all Wakelet related, but it should do the same thing for any video that you put into a Wakelet. So having somebody collaborate, and this is literally taking it to the next level. So if tweeting and bookmarking tweets is kind of your comfort level, then I say kind of stay there for now and don't try and rush into something else. I literally came off a Wakelet webinar at, I think, 1:40 to meet Peter in here. And the two, it was twins who were doing the webinar. And they said that to discover what or to think about what your motivations are for whether we are learning at home or whether we are doing learning in this physical classroom. Think about your motivations and then find a tool that will help you create what it is you want to create. And I love that idea because there are so many tools out there, and they even said, like the tweets that come out that say here are 100 best tech tools, they said it's nuts because you can't use 100 tech tools. So if Wakelet is not one of your tech tools that you use yet, or if it's not even something that you envision as creating what you want to create after this, don't worry about it and don't think you have to use it. It's just another idea out there. So go back to collaborating. Collaborating, when you go to www.wakelet.com, this is also how you would create your own account, how you log in if you don't have it bookmarked, and also how you collaborate with somebody else's. And unfortunately, Janique, because we can't open a incognito window, so I can't go and try and log in to show you. But when you go there, you would enter a code. So all of the wakelets, when you are in them, go back to the key to points, the 3 dots that are here, which I like to call jelly beans now, saw that somewhere. Oh, maybe it's not even that. Sorry. Oh, no, it's invite. The invite. If you have a code right here and you share that with your students, all they need to do is click on the enter code. And then they put that code into the box that comes up, the window that comes up, and it brings them here. So you can see that anonymous links is a name that was generated so that if they don't want to put in their first name, then they can just put in that. They can put in another random name. I asked my students for the last couple months of school just to put in their first name and never to use their last name. A couple of them did put in anonymous names. I think I had a bunch of anonymous crocodiles. I think we had a whole zoo one day actually in one of our collections. But that is how they get in there, and it's like nothing, no credentials. It doesn't ask them for their email address ever. They don't have to put in their name, so there's no way that they are being tracked on here. And oops, oh sorry. So I just wanted to show you a couple examples of collections that my students collaborated with in Wakelet altogether. And these do have their first names in them, they just don't have their last names. So I asked them at one point to put in their top 5 songs so that we would have a playlist. And it's kind of neat how they all put them in, and you literally can just use it as a list that will continue going. So you can see these are Michael's top 5. We've got Sarah's top picks. So their names are there just to show whose songs they were, Rachel's top 5. But then if you click on one, and I promise I will not play that too loud, don't play that at all. You can autoplay the next video so that it just automatically scrolls through, and you've created a playlist that you can just sit and listen to. So that's kind of nice that you have that too if you want. You can do the same thing with Spotify playlists as well. So that was one of the things that we did to collaborate together. Another one that we did together was called the Family Quarantine Challenge. I know I'm scrolling through like a whole bunch, so if there's any you want to see later, just let me know. Family Quarantine Challenge, I gave them the directions up here, but it was something to ask them to connect with their families while they were at home. So they had a list of things that they could add. They could also add other things if they wanted to, or they could add less, whatever they wanted. And in this case, they did happen to put their last names there. But, and I don't know if I mentioned at the beginning that when you create a collection, it automatically defaults to private. So if you want to change the visibility, you have to do it yourself. Otherwise, it is private. Right now, I have this so that only people with the link can see it. So I only shared it out to my students. I didn't even send it home to share with the families. You can also change it so that it's public. So the newsletters I mentioned earlier, I have as public. So you can, if you log into Wakelet, you can search for my account, and then you can copy the newsletters into your own Wakelet. And then you can have them and tweak them the way you want to. So their collections are here. They just added little sub-collections, which is what happens, or actually it doesn't have to. You can add sub-collections, or you can just add any of the other things that anyone can add in a Wakelet, which I can show you here as well. Oh, sorry. So if you trying to think, oh, I'll click on my own. So when we created the sub-collections, the only thing they needed to be very mindful of is when they were editing, they had to have everything in there before they clicked done. Because once they clicked done, they couldn't get back in it. And that's because of how they log in. And they don't actually log in. They're logging in with anonymous name or just a first name. So I just had to tell them, don't click done until you're completely finished. But once they're in their sub-collection, they could add anything they wanted to in there. So if we edit collection, when students are collaborating, and in any collection, this is what you would see too, is this green plus button. So within that, you can add a URL, you can add text, and you can make your text different header sizes or just a regular size. You can add YouTube video, and you can actually search for YouTube videos right from here. You don't have to have a link previously. If you know what you are looking for and you just search it, different ones will come and you just have to click the one you want and then it'll pop it in here. There's your tweets, bookmarks. Those are images or photos that you have. You can upload PDFs. There's your Google Drive. So if you want to grab something from your Google Drive, you would do it that way. Anyone using OneDrive, you can also grab documents from there. And Flipgrid. This is something that they pair really well with. You can do Flipgrid shorts in here. And if you click on this, it takes you right to that Flipgrid. I don't know if anyone here uses Flipgrid as well, but it takes you right to that Flipgrid camera, and you record your Flipgrid short or Flipgrid video right in within Wakelet. And I do have a collection that I can show you that into. So the students can do that. The only other thing when they log in is, I think about right here, there's one that says create sub-collection or create co-collection. And that's how my students created these, was they clicked on that button. And then it allows them just to add all of these within their sub-collection.
Just a quick question. If you
that was a lot.
Sorry. Shelley's asking, if you add something from your Google Drive, does the Immersive Reader feature work?
Yes. Do you need a document, Shelley?
That's amazing.
Google Slide.
Pardon?
I was thinking a Google Slide. Would it work for that?
I haven't actually tried it on Google Slides, but I know it will work if you add like an article from the web. If you just brought in that link and somebody clicked on it, then the Immersive Reader will work for an article. So I assume it would work for a Google Slide. I just actually haven't tried that. That answer?
She said she'll try it for sure. Thanks.
Okay, perfect. Oops, I literally just.
Sorry, one more. When you were doing these collaborative projects, did you share the link so that all the students can see each other's work?
Yes, students can see each other's work as soon as it's in there. That's the one thing you can't control. It just automatically, everyone has access to looking at it, but nobody can delete anybody else's work. So they knew they had to be okay with everybody seeing it as well. And then the last one I wanted to show you was one that we did on World Change Makers. So I created a whole presentation or an activity on World Change Makers, which was a bunch of videos on mostly children change makers. And then my students created a project, and they had choice in this, so they could create whatever they wanted to kind of demonstrate their learning on that person. And then we gathered them all in the collection here. So you can see that it's easy to put in Pixton, things from Pixton, from Book Creator. It was a Wakelet collection that she created. I think most of them were book creators. This was a video that one of my students created. And I'm pretty sure actually that this became a podcast. So if you click on that, I think her podcast is right in there, which she did with video as well. Sorry for time, 20 minutes. Yeah, so she created a podcast and she put the podcast in her collection, or her sub-collection. So that was the kind of the nutshell of collaborating. I know collaborating is kind of a bigger thing and it took me a long time to get there, but we do have time if you want to see just some of the activities that I curated together to push out to the students over at-home learning. You're right, Peter. It's different when you can't hear them.
I would actually love to see that. I didn't know that you were waiting for an answer from people, but
I was. I'm like, I'm not going to show you if you don't want to see it. But
Laura says yes, so Laura and I agree. We would both like to see that.
All right, I'll definitely for you and everyone else. So I think the first one I did was a perimeter and area choose your own adventure. So I kind of decided all those choice boards that were out there at one point during at-home learning. To me, I looked at them and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of activities. So I honed in on 3 different things that I wanted to offer to them, and I put them in a Wakelet, and they could choose which one they did. So I literally said to them, it's a choice board about area and perimeter. Choose one of the following activities, but they could do more if they wanted to. So their activities were here. Here's the example of the Flipgrid that I've put in there, and I'm pretty sure I have to be logged into Flipgrid to actually see that, which I'm not right now, so I'm not going to click it. But I didn't use the short, and I didn't add the Flipgrid video right from Wakelet, so I think that's why it's showing like this. If I had, you would be able to see the thumbnail here, and then you would be able to click and just watch it. So there was a game, and I just put the website right in here so they could just click on that. And then there was an activity that they could do, and it just tells them to head to Seesaw and do the activity in there. And I'm pretty sure Seesaw, you can actually insert the activities or embed the activities into Wakelet or the links to them. I didn't do that just because we were using Google Classroom. And this was kind of the first one I did as well. And we were just getting into Seesaw too. Another thing that we did was go on a virtual tour of an African safari. So this was kind of fun. I think this was the second thing that I pushed out to them through Wakelet. And it was also kind of the very first app smashing that even my students did with me. They kind of jumped right on that and absolutely I think they were in shock that I was taking them to Africa to go on a safari. So one of them created, that's the Bunsey that I created for passports, but another student, Jack, made a Bunsey to kind of say, okay, here we go. So he made this little Bunsey to head to our safari. And then adding the text into a photo album too, it's like scrapbooking. It kind of makes it alive for you so that you're on that journey with the people who went. So we arrived in South Africa at 10. You can add a Google map to show where exactly we were in South Africa. I've even seen somebody upload the weather for the day so that you can kind of see what the weather was like. I think it was hot. It was definitely sunny. These were all of our passports that we had all together, and then we literally went. So that was a very blurry image, but there's an example of the text underneath the caption for the photos. But then the rest of the photos, I literally took photos of the screen as we were being taken through the safari in the jungle. And I made sure I recorded all the notes so that I remembered what the animals were. The lions were amazing, actually. They were part of Nakuma Pride, which there's a lot of information about that tribe on the internet, I think, because they've been tracking them for a few years. So that was a really interesting thing that we did, or I found it interesting. And at the very end, actually, I just remembered, there's another Flipgrid video in here from a student. So I had asked them in Flipgrid to kind of put on their reactions if they wanted to. And this was his reaction.
I really liked the lions because they were cool and cute. I liked the guide's accents, and I was surprised by how many people were on the safari, like ages from 3 to 89.
So that, as you can see, has no information about the student. I actually downloaded it from Flipgrid and then uploaded it, so it didn't have his name on it at all. So that was another thing that we did together. And then probably the biggest one that I pushed out to them was our Endangered Animal Project. That's right here. So I had decided that I wanted to, in the last 2 weeks, I think it was actually 4 weeks, because this one was a bigger one, that I wanted them to focus on. We were doing diversity of living things, or biodiversity. So I wanted to give them an activity that they could work on at home, but have choice in it as well. So they literally just needed to follow along. And I even said, at your own pace, gather information, and then they could present their information. We used a Buncee for that as well. And I collected all of their Buncees together in one Wakelet. Actually, no, I put them on a Buncee board that time. So I added different websites that they could go to, actually, sorry, just one here that they could go to learn the definition of those 3 words. And then I gave them 3 different websites, I believe, so that they could do 4 different websites. So they could do their own research to figure out what animal it was that they might want to research. And then we talked, or I wanted to teach them about nonfiction text features. So I put in somebody's, I think it's an anchor chart within the website, and also a news article, like a copy of just a news article that shows all of the features. So you can see that the PDF is in there. That's somebody's own website. And then I taught them how to log into Buncee. So at this point, this is also kind of where we were figuring out Buncee. I just introduced them to Buncee over at Home Learning. My class was phenomenal this year, and they absolutely jumped onto any new technology or new platforms that I was showing them, thank goodness. But they did really well with Buncee too. And then I also created a Buncee to show them how to get into Buncee. And then I just went through all the pages with them. So we talked about what the cover page should look like. Again, a Buncee is in there. What their first page should look like, or their topics, because I didn't want to make them feel they had to do just one page. I had some who ended up with a 30-page Buncee at the end. So I just called them topics and just kind of outlined what topics I wanted them to do. If they wanted to add sounds, I also included some animal sounds for them, because they could add those in Buncee as well. And then a couple more websites to help them with that topic. And then at the end, I did create a Flipgrid to show them how to cite sources, because we hadn't done that before. So I used the whiteboard and Flipgrid and just showed them a little bit about creating. This video is just going to go over with you how to cite your sources. So I won't play that whole thing. But as you can see, it was just the whiteboard, and I just brought in different animations and different things to put in there to show them how to cite their sources for using websites as well as books. So I think that was the biggest one that we did for at-home learning that I pushed out to them. And honestly, oh, I can also show you the newsletters. So newsletters is something that I plan on doing this year a lot more often, especially if we end up back at home. So I have created templates for September, October, November, December. I've been doing those in Buncee and just uploading them into here. But the newsletter itself, and as I said, this one is public, so you can go in and you can copy it too. And then you can just tweak it the way that you might want it. So there's September, and this is, I think, week 1. Yeah. And then I just have the general outline. So adding greetings, any important dates coming up in that week coming up, any reminders, and then just a little glimpse of what we're learning in language and math. And I decided at the beginning of the year in October, actually I think from October to June, I had language, math, science, social studies, health. And then I really decided to kind of integrate them into where we have been heading and put them into the language integration and math integration. So when I post for next year, when we put things in here for next year, I'm going to put them into one of those 2 categories. Student showcasing, in that one, I'm pretty sure for this year, we're going to do a Flipgrid news broadcast every week, and it'll go in there explaining what's coming up for the week. And then any links or resources that you might want to add for outside things, you can put in there too. So like I said, that newsletter is just housed in one Wakelet for all the newsletters, but then you'll be able to parents will be able to scroll through and see the different weeks. And you can also add your Twitter feed right into your newsletters as well. I'm sorry if I'm going fast. Just tell me. Tell me to slow down. I'm trying to find one that I know I did it. I don't think I did it in February.
Now with the Wakelet, if I sign up for this, whatever, can I go to your Wakelet page to see all the things that you've done? Your public ones, obviously.
Yes. Yes, you can see if I've made anything public, then you can see it. I can even show you what that would look like when you log in and find another person. And you can do searches for any topics that you're looking for. So if you are looking for something that you want to start with, which is how I got into the newsletters. And this newsletter wasn't mine. At the top, it recognized Erin Flanagan as the author of this newsletter. But then I decided this year over at home learning to create my own so that I wasn't, I guess, mooching off Erin. But here's under Student Showcase for this past year. That's where I put our tweets. And I just collected all of the tweets that we had for the month and put them all in one so that if they weren't on Twitter, then they could see them. If they missed them, then they were just all there in the order that we did them. So, oh, Peter, what did you just ask me?
I asked if someone who has Wakelet can find your stuff or what that looks like.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Bad memory. Good memory, but short. So if you went in and you searched for me, it's at 6Kaisley, which is the same as my Twitter handle. And this is what you would see. So everything that's public is here. So obviously I haven't made those newsletters. I haven't made those newsletters public yet because I guess I didn't want to have parents accessing them, but I guess it wouldn't matter because they don't have the link. So I can make those public and they'll show up in here. And then the perimeter and area is there. And this is just, I think, math tweets that I have collected. Yeah, it's just tweets from Twitter. Tweets from Twitter. Tweets that I put into a math collection. And then there's some writing lessons that are public. Oh, Jeff, that's the Staying Connected with Brilliant Labs there. And then the World Change Makers is there too. And that's the one that just has what I made. It doesn't actually have the students' stuff in there. It's the activity that I created for them and pushed out to them. So those are all public in my account. But if you go up and you search for, oh no, what do we want to search for? Basketball? I had a student this past year who loved Kobe Bryant. So he probably would definitely search for him. So if you search for basketball, all of these show up, which means that they're all public. So if you liked one and you wanted to start with your own, oh, that was not copyable. Oh, yes, it is. So you can just save the collection and then it'll put it into your collection automatically. And then you can just see your collections here. So I have 56 collections. I have 429 bookmarks, but those live either in the collections. There's a few that aren't. And then I have a few collaborative ones that I've invited students to collaborate on or colleagues to collaborate with. And that honestly is Wakelet. A very condensed, very fast version of Wakelet. I don't know if anyone has any questions now, if you want to see anything that I didn't show.
So many possibilities, Shelley's saying.
Yes, that's one thing I really love about Wakelet is the amount of possibilities that you have in there.
Sandra says that was awesome. I learned a lot.
Thank you, Sandra. More than one thing, I hope.
I like how this is, it seems like a cross between Facebook and Pinterest. Like it's the way that the feed works and the way that the pictures work. I think it's super awesome.
Yes, I think Paul equated it last year at IT Camp to a glorified Pinterest, which, caught my attention right away. It just, you can do so much more with it once you really get comfortable with it. Yeah, it definitely becomes more than just Pinteresty.
And that's exactly what the feed is saying now. Thank you so much. Did not know all the cool things you do with Wakelet. Thank you. It's going in. There's a lot of thank you. Sorry, it's going really fast.
That's okay. You're welcome. I thank all of you for coming for sure. If you do make your own Wakelet account, if you do ever want any help with Wakelet at all, reach out. I love Wakelet. I love helping about Wakelet. I've tried to design Wakelets even for some of my son's teachers over at home learning, because I just wanted them to kind of figure out something different to do, but it's something that I definitely enjoy doing and playing around with. I know I was up till midnight last night just playing around with stuff, and then got up this morning and did it all over again. So Wakelet is definitely something I'd love to help with and love to promote.